Hello and welcome to another ARCHLine.XP live webinar. Today we learn about how to create stunning and immersive 3D spaces for your interior design projects. Lots to do, so let's take a look. As always, I'm joined by my colleague, Mr. Illés Pap, who's our resident architect and ARCHLine.XP Live expert. So, in a few words, can you tell us about what ARCHLine.XP Live is?
ARCHLine.XP Live, just as we will demonstrate in a few seconds, it really brings life into your design in a way like other solutions couldn't do. You will see that it is able to deliver instant images. You can enrich the content on the material level, the light level, and also the content level. We will all go through these things via an interior design project this time, and there will be another session when we cover similar things with other features in the architectural aspect.
That's right. Can we just quickly look at what the end result should be?
Yeah, let me just load it up, and it will just appear in a second, and then I will just
So I understand this project is going to be a bedroom, which is on the edge of a house. So you would see some of the outside as well, and the focus will be obviously in the inside. So what we are trying to do is to turn this model into something immersive, something that can actually sell the design. So let's take a look at what we have here. So this is the end result. Obviously, that's what we are aiming at achieving. But as I understand, we are going to show the first baby steps on how to start recreating this site.
Yeah, well, actually, what we will do is we will create an interior based on the architectural model and the interior design model, enriched in a way like as you can see here, with all the materials, lights, other plants, and other things appearing here all around. So this is what we will cover. But first, we will actually load this model using the ARCHLine.XP software itself. So this is where we will go. And now let's just go back to the design actually.
Yes, and since this is a live webinar, I urge you to ask your questions on the right-hand side. So if you have anything you want to know more about, based on what you're seeing right now, ask your questions, and we are going to talk about that too. So this is where everything starts. This is the interface of ARCHLine.XP, our design software, and that's where you put together the model, right?
Yes, as you can see now, the 2D and the 3D is simplified in a way where we can focus on what we do. Now it's a larger project, as you can see, but we filtered it down to one single room, so we can focus on the most important things. But what we discuss now is actually valid for a larger project as well.
Yes.
As you can see, we have a very irregularly shaped building with many of those rooms. We will work in this room, and this room actually has an indirect connection to a garden, and that is also part of the interior design project, just as a surrounding, like a background, a backdrop for this interior. So we didn't model this too much. It's just a few shapes and the fence around. We focused on the interior mostly, so we will use this as a basis there.
What are the things that you set up before you start working in live?
The 3D, before we start working in a visual context, the 3D is the most important thing. So all things considering materials, lights, the model itself will be delivered into ARCHLine.XP Live itself. So first things first, we should make sure that all the materials, all the surfaces that we have around are appearing as we want them to appear. This is also good for the regular, the standard rendering as well, but this is also working for the live itself. This means that most of the surfaces around you are either walls, ceilings, metal surfaces, glass surfaces, and so on. And this way we cannot really determine whether they are okay or not, but there are the render styles, and this is what helps us to either determine or just simply check, double check whether everything is fine or not. How to do that? Like first things first, if I'm not sure anything is set, I can just click and drag and click on the surface to tell that this is actually a surface, a ceiling surface. If I would like to do the same thing with a pocket, I can do that. I can find a pocket material type and see there is a specific shape, I mean a material, I mean a pattern for this, but the pattern itself won't change because this is not a material, this is just the style of how this surface looks like. It keeps the original surface material, but it changes its behavior in the 3D environment.
So this is actually the function of the material.
Yes, yes, this is how it will look like.
Now my question is, how do you keep track of how your materials look like? So how do you keep track of the functions?
Well, first things first, when ARCHLine, when you change the mode into this color-coded mode in the render style, I mean there will be a color-coded mode, but there is also this bubble appearing, and it tells me this the appearance of this bright white material is ceiling. The appearance of this wall surface is actually wall. The appearance of this is actually it's off screen, but it's pocket. So this is how you can just go through. But as you can see, there could be hundreds of surfaces around it, so it would be just very slow to do that. So ARCHLine delivers this color-coded view. Then you can just check and match whether those colors, those indicators at the right top corner of the pocket shape itself, actually, that is kind of a yellowish color, it appears on the floor. So we can make sure that, yeah, I didn't forget about that. And the same applies for metal surfaces, wall surfaces, ceiling surfaces. All the rest is appearing like that here. For example, there are specific materials like, let me just go back, and let's just focus on the outside a little bit, because we will also work a little bit on this. And there is, for example, this artificial pools here outside, and those are definitely water. And if I just move my mouse here, this appears as a glass surface, as you can see in the appearance. So I can just click and drag and click on it, and now it changed its appearance somehow here in the 3D environment, but it will actually deliver a spectacular result in live. So now the software understands that is actually a water surface, that is a wall surface, that is a pocket, and so on.
So now we have set up the materials. What's the next step? What other things can we take care of here?
Well, besides the materials and, of course, taking care of their seamless and good quality appearance, we should also check whether we should also create our views, which anyhow we will create when we communicate with our clients. So those views that you create for the 3D, those appear here at the bottom as a jump list and also as a perspective dialog, so you can easily set up a new version of the same perspective. Let's just cycle through those. So we have all these properly named. So there's an image, a view of the small unit, bedroom. By the way, naming the views is, I think it's essential even on a smaller project. Now this naming convention here on this project was A1, that means apartment 1, because this is a larger building.
Oh, yes.
And this has 2 or 3 bedrooms, and this is bedroom 1, and this is the number of that view in the bedroom. So it's wise to always name your views because it will be easier to handle, not just here, but also in live when you create those views.
What about lights?
The lights, these are, actually we can talk about 2 different type of lights. Let's focus on the artificial lights first. Now, when you have a lamp shade or any sort of lamp body appearing in your design, it's not necessarily a lamp. It is a lamp when it has at least one light source. I will talk about how you can create a lamp, just to quickly cover this part.
Good.
But now I will just tell you that these are lamps. As you can see, they have in their center over there is 1 or 2 light sources. This actually has 2 light sources, and then we also have spotlights. So this model is having a lot of artificial light sources, and this appears not just on the rendering but also in live, just as you saw in the previous image.
Is sunlight any different?
The difference with the sunlight is that it can be set in a different way. You cannot find the sun itself here. You will find it, first things first, it's based on the geolocation. So the geolocation itself can be, it's a BIM parameter, so you can set it up either in BIM and project parameters here in the project location. That's the one thing. And also you can set it up here when you set up the sun position, and then you can select a geolocation, I mean a physical location on Earth. You can set up the date, the day and the local time, and also the north direction. I just skipped that. And then whenever you would like to check how this looks like, you can go to the view and there is shadow simulation. And this shadow simulation appears in a very easy to understand way. So now we can see that everything below this, this is the sun path, and everything below this is nighttime, everything above this is daytime. So I can easily find where noon is, or I can easily find a night scenery, but also I can easily find morning and evening. And as you can see, whenever I move it here, or I can actually move it also on the timeline, I can easily find the best way of lighting this up with the sunlight. So now it's important in a way that it's also setting up the visually teasing result, which we would like to achieve at the end. Perfect. So when we set it up, this will be delivered also to the live.
You mentioned that you are going to show us how to create a light source and how to create a lamp.
Yeah.
Now I think this is a good place as any to demonstrate how objects come into ARCHLine, because obviously you can work with our own built-in library. What happens if you already have a set of materials or content that you want to work with? For instance, you want to work with something from the 3D warehouse.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, I think we will use one specific object. Do you remember the name? What was that? It was a swing table lamp, which we usually use on this project because it's just simply matching this style.
Yes, it fits the style nicely. So
yeah, so I will just Google for an item. I will just search for an item, and when I like that, I just quickly click on download, and I just choose the latest model type. And then now, because I'm in the 3D, yeah, I already downloaded it before. So when I'm already in the 3D, I can easily just select that surface where I would like to place it, and then it appears in the 3D and then the 2D as well. Now, the most important thing for us talking about visual design is that this object itself has a light source. So this is not just a simple object like a chair would be, or a pillow or anything else. This has a light source, but ARCHLine, when it downloads this object from the 3D warehouse, it cannot really determine where the light source should be. The object itself has no light source. So ARCHLine is making a guess that it's having a name with the word lamp or light or chandelier or something like that. So it believes that this will be some sort of lamp. So it will just quickly attach a light source to the bottom of the surface of that item, which would be perfect for a ceiling lamp, but it is not good for this one. So I just go to the details, and well, I can go to many sort of settings, but I can easily actually just click on the light source itself and use these arrows to move it above the ground and just move it to the right, and just quickly fine tune it. Now, the most important thing with this one is that we shouldn't make a position of this light source where it is overlapped by anything really. So I just make sure that it is not falling into the some sort of solid part of this this object. But other than that, I'm just simply fine with this.
I think now you want to apply the render style for this element, because we haven't equipped this with anything.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Does it have a style by default?
By default, it will be likely some sort of plastic or anything else. There's no information coming with the object when you download it from the 3D warehouse. So ARCHLine again has to make some sort of guess, and it is trying to determine some default material. So I can easily find it, right click here and tell, okay, what was the material of this one? This was colored something, and it is considered to be plastic, but likely this is, for example, metal. So I just use the metal shader here, and the metal render style, and then it will just appear in a different way when we make the rendering and when we use it in ARCHLine.XP Live.
Thinking of styles, I think we have a TV set in this room, so I think there's something special about that, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, actually, let me just load up a different view. This is a view pointing this way, so that's appearing over there. There are materials special in a way that they're actually glowing. Those are the emissive surfaces. So whenever you have a material like this, either using the render styles or just what I did, right click, find a material and change its render style, you can find those emissive, false emissive and real emissive, I will talk about that later, sort of materials, and this will determine the type of light and I mean the type of surface, how in what sort of way it is glowing. Basically, whichever you choose, you will get a good result. So I will just go with this false emissive, and we will see how that looks like.
So let's just recap what we talked about so far. So in order to get the best result out of live, you have to set up the 3D model, set up the materials with the render styles, set up lights, and I think there's one thing left, and that is the animation path.
Yeah, well, that checklist, just how we went through now, is actually nothing extra, because you would do these anyhow when you just simply work with your project, because you need wall elevations, you need elevation views, you need perspectives, you likely need some sort of textured visuals. So these are all things that you would anyhow set up and you would anyhow create. The only extra that is not a must is the animation. And the animation in ARCHLine is in view, and you can determine a path for the animation. The animation in ARCHLine is a walkthrough animation, so that means you can draw a spline, which actually I already created two, this one and this one, and this means how the camera, how the viewer of this animation will go through and what it will look at when it passes through this path here. You can actually quickly check this, so you can just use the context menu and use the create animation, because from ARCHLine actually you can also save this content as it looks like now as a drawing sort of representation. So you can just play this animation. You can fine-tune this animation. We have a complete tutorial about this, how you can do that. But the result, what you see here, is something that you can now save in this quality on your hard drive, and also you can use the same animation content in live, and we will talk about that in a few seconds.
So I think we are all set. Now we could be exporting this into ARCHLine Live and see what the end result is. So how does the export look like? What do we do?
Well, export is just as in other situations, is the you get what you see. That means, so whatever you have in the 3D model, either partially or fully rebuilt in the 3D with this 3D hammer, it will be transferred to live. The transfer is very simple. You just set up the view, the model itself, and then you go to rendering and use the ARCHLine.XP live command. And then it actually just prepares a package of this content as it is now. It's kind of like a 3D snapshot of the content. And then it automatically loads up the ARCHLine.XP live, and it is automatically loading up the model itself. Now, this is in a way very similar to how you would work with the render as well. So this is what you get at the first, and I will just go with the trial now. By the way, we have a non-profit version as well. So let me just close it here. So what you get here automatically is all those views, as you remember, we went through all those views that you have created within the design system, within ARCHLine itself, the design software. So whatever you have created, it is automatically photographed. So you can, when you click here, these are not just views, these are already images on your hard drive. Those are automatically created as PNG or JPEG files that you can now right away send to your clients, start talking about that, and start fine-tuning, just as we will discuss it soon, the content and see what happens next.
So what happens if you are not satisfied with the current status? You want to enrich it somehow. So what are the tools that you can use, and how do you get started?
Yeah, well, whatever you see right away, it is already quite good, but you might want to change the tone of the colors, you want to change the tone of the lights themselves. So if you would like to do that, I think let's just start with the materials. We started the materials also in ARCHLine, so let's just keep that order. Now, talking about materials, whatever you see in front of you, when you click on that surface, there is this panel in the center, and it is for editing materials. So whenever you click on a surface like this one or this one, it is telling you what is the name of that material and what sort of properties it has. And by default, as you can see, it already gets the same material type. So now it was a wall, so it is a wall in live. This was a floor surface, this will be a floor surface in live. So whatever you change here, it happens in an instant. You don't have to wait for rendering. It happens right away. So I think I will just select a different view, and I will just focus on the floor as well. It's just over here. So for example, with the floor, I can find it quite okay, but perhaps it's just too much glossy or something like that. In that case, I just change I can either change the brightness as well, or just decrease the reflection and change the roughness a little bit. So if I increase it large enough and change the reflection and downgrade the reflection enough, I will get rid of that very shiny effect in the 3D. And again, it happened in an instant.
Obviously, you would be wanting to use the materials and the textures that you bring in from ARCHLine.
Yeah.
But what happens if you want to use something else? Because I understand that Live comes with a built-in library. So how do you use that?
Yeah, talking about that, what you just mentioned, actually there is a list of those materials in Navigator. Those materials came with the model, as you can see this panel here, or all the painting and the wall surfaces and everything else those are collected here and at this panel, so you can just click and drag and use them on the surfaces at any time. Let me just find something like for example this one. So if I just drag it, well, that's the same material. So let me just change it here, so it's just changing. So this is how you can easily reuse those materials on all the other surfaces. But Live itself has its built-in material library, and actually it's not just materials, but now we will focus on the materials, which comes with, for example, flooring. Now we are here, so let me just check it and see how it looks like. And as you can see, it's quite detailed. It even has scratches on its surface with different color variations and different connections between the tiles and so on. So if I find something that I like, I think I will go with this one or with the other one, a little bit pale version of the same thing. So you can easily change it and check whether you like it, or you can just use another type of material. Talking about these, I think it would be nice to check this surface here with the metal. And well, it does not really look like a metal because I think it's just too much glossy, too much having some sort of glow effect. So I could either tweak it here, or I can just go to the metal library, and I could just use, for example, gold or any sort of material, and then it appears in a very different way. Now, talking about the metal surfaces, for example, if I would like to change all the handles as well, I could do that. But for that, perhaps I need to test a few types, and if I like that, I can also use them all of this on all of the surfaces. I will talk about that, how you can do that. But actually, you can just simply click and drag all those materials. Now, talking about all sort of wooden surfaces that we have here, there is also a built-in wood library, and let me just test this one. Well, it's not bad, but let me just go with this one.
Yeah, I think this one's better.
Yeah, I think it will be much better. But as you can see, this is only changing one specific surface of this material. But what happens if I would like to change it all over the item? There is this all instance mode switch, which allows me to do that. So now when I click and drag on a surface, it will detect and change all the same instances. So this switch allows you to either change only one version of it or all around in this project. Now this happens not just here, but also because I used it here, it appears over there. And also, let me just change this as well. I think I like this in a sort of metallic way. And they're not just those perfect chromic surfaces, but those are these here, which gives you a nice and glowy metal-like surface, but it's just not that perfect. So I think for this version, it will be much better.
Can we just navigate to the lamp in the corner over there?
Yeah, you mean this one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, I just changed this as well. So yeah, if you would like to zoom into something, by the way, just as you mentioned, you can just select it and push F. That's for focus. So now it's focusing onto this model, and let me just revolve around this one.
So let's assume that I'm not, because it looks like this lamp is floating. It's not.
Kind of looks like,
the thin lines. So you see that the surface, the material is there, but I'm not satisfied with how this glass surface looks like. How do I change it to something else?
It's too thin. So I will just use glass here, and let me just see an overview of that like that, and just use
what would match?
Green tint. I think that's nice. Yeah, I'll keep that.
Yes.
So there are also glass surfaces as well. You can apply them also here. To change it in a different way, like this one, for example. Well, this is more office-like, so let me just remove that.
Let's talk about lights. So we already set up the lights in ARCHLine. How are they represented in Live, and how can you modify them?
Okay, so lights. Talking about those, but before that, let me just quickly jump back to materials, because we will focus on this a little bit more, but I would like to change the surface of the ground, for example. So I just wanted to represent that you can do the exact same thing outside and inside. There's no difference. We also have water surfaces easily interchangeable with anything, so you can just do the same thing inside and outside. So what was your topic?
Let's talk about lights, because we have set them up in ARCHLine, obviously.
Yep.
But what are the fine tweaks and tunes that we can imply here?
Yeah, as you can see, those are already glowing on the ceiling here as well, and we also have a nice sunlight coming in. So if I would like to work with any of those artificial lights, I can just click on the lamp itself, like I'm just clicking on this one, and I can go to the light settings, edit lamps and lights, and then I can also, of course, turn them on or off. As you can see, it appears right away. I can change its intensity. Let's just make it a little bit more glowing, but not that much, and let's just change its color. I'm giving a little warmer tone to that. So it's just giving that nice touch. And then there is this cryptic option, this helper light, or
what does that mean?
This actually means that, well, when you do rendering like ARCHLine.XP Live does, helper light is a light source that is actually like a helper light for the photographer, just as the helper lights we have in front of us. Those are helping to brighten up the scene and so on, and those are kind of cheap to visualize because they don't create shadows or something like that. But if you would like to highlight the effect of this shade, you really like to use the real light because it also casts shadows all around. So you can just use either this one or the helper light, or you can just go around and play and find which is the best for that. For example, for this one, obviously real light is the best. Now, the reason why it's not default for all the lights to be real lights, because it's kind of expensive for the GPU. So you should only turn lights into real lights when you really would like to highlight this sort of effect. Other than that, just use them as helper lights.
When it's in focal point.
Yeah.
Now, is there any way to switch all the lights on and off at the same time? Let me tell you why I'm asking that. Because next thing I want to ask you about is the sun position. And if we want to create a day or a nighttime scene, we have to be able to switch between the on and off status of the lights. Yeah, well,
okay, this is actually happening on the right-hand side in the navigator. There is this third panel, and that is for the lights. It's actually just a list of all the lights that you have here. So if you click on this panel, you can actually turn them on or off easily, and you can turn all of them actually easily on or off. And this is also kind of a finder, so if you don't know what is compact 11 watts, you just click on that and it will help you find that. And then you can just decide what you want to do and how to edit that. So this is kind of a list finder of these things, and this is also the way you can turn on or off all the light sources in your scene.
So my next question, follow-up question, is about the sun. So how do we modify where it is?
Okay, so let's just turn off the artificial lights for a while, and let me just go back to the top, and there is this last icon. This is for the edit sunlight. This edit sunlight actually delivers the same date and time slider, and you can easily find the best way you would like to represent this whole interior. And also the same way you can also set up some sort of night scenery with a very dark exterior, and when you have something like a light source outside or something like that, this will be really light.
So now we could be turning off the lights, right?
Yeah, now we could go back and just let me just do that and just enable all the light sources. So now we have a completely different visual.
Let's talk about handling objects, because obviously now we modified the sun, the lights, materials, but how do we enrich what the model has to offer? How do we fill it up with life?
That's actually via the libraries. So if anything that you have downloaded in ARCHLine, all the new objects, everything, all the materials, all the lights and everything is transferred here. But if you would like to add some sort of extra, like likely all those organic things like plants and everything like that, you won't do that in a design system like ARCHLine, because you don't want them to appear on your drawings or something like that. So you will do that here. That is the objects library here. I'm just closing this back up, and I opened up the view, so it will help me to easily navigate through the model. And I will just first place, let me just go to the decoration first, because there are nice pots and all sorts of other things, and I just would like to place some sort of plant here.
Yes, maybe
just use this
plant down there would be fine. So
let me just go with this one. I don't know if I like it. Well, this is just matching too much, so I just go with the brighter version.
Oh yes, it's much better.
And then well, let me just find something nice. I think this snake plant will fit. Yeah. And so it goes. You just click and drag, and ARCHLine itself will automatically find the surface where you click. So if you click on if you release the mouse button on the floor surface, it will fall to the floor surface. If you release it here, it will fall into the pot. What else? What should we place?
Let's talk about the bed itself, because there's one thing we quite forgot to do, and that is changing the texture to something else on the
okay, let's just do that.
It's a bit glossy, so
it will reveal something that we wanted to talk about.
Yes, that's what I was asking it.
Yeah, so I will just change it to, let's just go with textile, and I think I like this one. Yeah. Well, it changed all the materials, because I use this all instances mode. So if I don't want that, I just undo that, and I just use it again. So now, yeah, this is a likely issue that I could do when I use the similar surfaces, and likely I will reveal this. It will reveal itself when I'm in the visual. So how to fix this? This is actually a geometry collision issue. I misplaced this surface, this textile. So if I would like to fix it, I should somehow move it. And to move it, you can actually do all sorts of transformation, move, rotate, and rescale an element. So when you select something and you click on move, all those axes appears. And when you hover your mouse on any of those, it will tell you on which direction you can move it. So if you just click and drag, and just try to find the best position, and you release, and now it's better. So this is how you can actually move around anything. You can move around the pillows. If you disable this, it's just a simple selection, and in that case, of course, you can also erase these things and just exchange them with all sorts of other decorative items. Like, for example, in the objects, we have this furnishing library with all sorts of pillows. Like, for example, let me just go with this one. So I like this, but this is not the best with the orientation. So I need to rotate it, revolve it around. Yeah. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Yeah, it's with the letter F to focus. Also, I will just bring in this one in front of it. And this is also turned around. So I just click here. Let me just rotate it around. If I don't like the position, I can just click on move, and I can just refine it. You know, it's just too much, yeah, like that. And then I just keep going and add another pillow, for example, this one, and I just elevate it or move it, or even I can rescale it. So if I don't like the specific and exact length of this item, I can just shrink it or make it larger by using this one, the Rescale Elements. Now this appears right here, and now it's quite tiny, but it appears with all those nodes, axes. Yeah. So if I just would like to enlarge here, I just click and drag, and I just keep trying to find what is the best size, and I just release. This also has a feature when you can just completely and fully enlarge it proportionally like this, but this is not what I wanted to do, so I just undo that. And then
you are doing quite a bit of navigation here. Can you talk about a little bit how do you get around the 3D space?
Yeah, well, actually it happens quite in a similar way like you would do in ARCHLine. And how you do that, you just scroll up and down to zoom in and out. You can hold down the mouse wheel and keep holding it and move the mouse to pan around to left, right, up and down. And you can keep right-clicking and moving your mouse to look around. It's a very simple thing, easy. So you can use all those things. You can select, you can just click on an item. And you can also rotate around an item if you keep your mouse over there. And you hold the shift, hold the mouse wheel itself, and move the mouse. And this is actually orbiting around something. So all the navigation is similar to ARCHLine's navigation.
And if you click on something, you just hit F, and then you zoom on that.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, you just hit F, and then you can zoom in and there and back. You can just simply use the scroll.
What about using some effects? I understand that we have a candlelight, for instance. Maybe that would look nicely in this project.
Yeah, we do have a candlelight for that purpose. You can just go back to the effects, and you can find all sorts of effects. Those are mostly fire. This candlelight actually falls there, and the second one falls here. And let me just zoom in a little bit so we can easily see. Well, I just mispositioned it. You can actually just select any sort of light source, and you can just get rid of it and try again. Or you can use the same move selected item to just navigate around. And while we talk about it, I forgot to talk about the curtains as well.
That's right.
We wanted to change the curtains themselves. So let me just close this one and go back to this item, erase this one, erase the, it was actually a double curtain,
one piece,
one single item. And actually that's why I wanted to get rid of it, because I just would like to make it a little bit more various by just simply adding two sort of different curtain items using the objects, furnishing, and there's this one single curtain here. Yeah, well, it falls into the surface now because I just placed it wrong. But I can just easily fix that by moving it around, and I think I also should revolve it like that, and maybe I need to kind of shrink it to change its size by using this axis. Well, it's just too much, but this will do. I think I like this. Let me just refine it, and then I just place the other one on the other side. So I just go here, and I just use this one and place it somewhere over here. And if I have to, I just use the same tools to shrink, rotate, and move it around, and I can change the material of it, of course.
Some irregularity looks pretty neat in this kind of projects. Let's talk about the outside, because that's where, so this is not something that you would typically do in, let's say, ARCHLine or another 3D software, but if you are looking for rendering, that you have to add some kind of depth to your models, right? So you have to take care of the background. Now, instead of using a static image, you could be using objects to signify trees and objects and people to give some depth to your vision, or your visuals, I mean.
Yeah, well, I don't have external views now. So what I can do in that case, I can just simply go outside by zooming outside and rotating. And actually, I can also set up a new view. So if I just would like to use this as a view for work or for my clients, I can just add the new view here, and it appears now there. And I also would like to use an overview when I work, when I populate this garden, because that's what I want to do. So I just zoom out a little bit and I save this as well. So now I have two new views which I can use during work. So the first thing I would like to add here is a sort of library item which is with the decoration.
I think what we should be adding is maybe...
I'm sorry, for the furnishing, I mean the fireplace itself.
Oh yes, that's right. So we could have the fireplace, because I think this fire would look nicely outside. Yeah. And then we should be adding some vegetation as well. So
yeah. So let me just place it around, and then I like that, and then I just add an effect, and let me just select a quite larger fire. I think it's just too wild, so let me just undo that, and I just use a smaller one. Yeah, it's better. Yeah. So and actually, I can just move it around. You can just click on it, and you can just use the same thing to fine-tune its position.
So you can move
easily.
fire.
Yeah, you can move fire.
That's neat.
Yeah, so well, this is how it happens, and then you can add all sorts of other details. Like, for example, this garden should have a few trees, bushes, and things like that, and all those things are appearing in the trees and plants library. So if I would like to add a few trees first, I will just click and find an acacia, for example, this here. Well, this is okay. Let me just zoom out to see it as an overview. So I just use another tree here, for example. If I don't like, I can just undo it, and I can place, for example, a sakura. Well, if it's too large, I can shrink it, or I can just get rid of it by erasing it and exchange it with another one. So you can just easily test and play and find the best object, the best plant that you want. We also have a few of these Mediterranean objects. I'm not using it now because it's just not fitting this specific garden. And also a few other effects. I like to populate the street as well, because we don't have a direct view to the street, but it is a nice backdrop when I look outside.
That's right.
So I just use, for example, this one. Well, yeah, it's a nice one. Let me just place it here. And now I face with the problem that just click and drag, it's kind of a tedious thing to do. So it would be much better just to click on the surface and test whether I like it and undo it. Yes. So that's why we have this continuous placement. So in that case, you don't have to click and drag, you just select the item and then click on the surface and you check if you like it. If you don't like it, you just undo. I just use Ctrl Z, that's the shortcut for undo. And then I just test another tree, like for example this one, yeah, I like it better. I use this one in front of this fence over here. Let me just add another one, like for example this one over there. Well, that's just too large. I just undo that. So this is how I can easily set up an environment like that.
So this is not something that you would have to spend too much time on, but if you add these kind of details, then that gives more credibility to your visuals. What about other objects that you can use? For instance, some shrubbery.
Yeah, I just use this, for example, here, and again, I'm just keep going with the continuous placement. So I just try to figure out what is the best. I like this here. Let me add a few larger bushes over there, and for example, a few flowers over there, and keep going on, adding some flowers. If I don't like that, again, I just undo that and try to find another one, like for example, this rose over there in the entrance. So you can just easily populate this thing. Now there are other things that this garden likely would feature, and those are items like, for example, the
maybe
the car. For example, if here in the entrance, I just use this car here, and I just rotate that around. Yeah, it's just too much like that, and then just move it around. And now I just would like to show another thing, that you can actually work on a surface, because if you keep holding your mouse only on one of these axes, you can move only into that direction. But if you keep holding on your mouse over two axes, you can actually freely move on that specific surface. So in a situation like this, it is simply faster to find the proper position.
Yes. What other things can we implement to make it a bit more lifelike?
Yeah, well, I think I will just add another element, which will be a human character walking around here, facing towards the building, like that, for example. And then when I go back to the interior, I think we worked enough on the exterior. This is just enough for supporting the interior view, and as you can see, it really does its job well, because now the interior is the most important part, but the backdrop is supporting it very, very well.
So what is next? What we have to do is that we have to create the outputs, right? So we would be creating images and videos, perhaps.
Yeah, well, now, just as you saw before, we had the images in an instant, and if you would like to update those images with any sort of change that you've made, you only need to select that view and click on this shutter icon. When you click on that, it automatically updates. As you can see now, it updated this content. And let me just do the same thing with, for example, this one. We have a few changes here with all the pillows and lights. So I just over-exponate on that, and then I click here and I find that that image, this bedroom 1-2. Then I can see that the image is automatically updated. So now I can resend this same image to my client and then use it as a reference to further discussion.
And it's all based on the views that you have currently or previously set up, or not even only in ARCHLine, but you can also set them up in live.
Yeah, so actually we cannot talk about rendering time because it happens just as taking a photograph of the interior. So this is something that you can easily and quickly send around while you do the changes.
Neat. Let's talk about the animation and videos. How do you create them? Mind you, we have already created the path, right?
Yeah.
So what can we do with that?
We actually had two paths, the animation and the animation one, and whenever I just click and hold my mouse over the timeline and I just scrub over this timeline, I can just see the same animation, and I can even actually play it and find the result. If it's good enough, then I can just save it, or if I would like to fine-tune the content before I make this, I can actually, for example, remove that that fire from there, because this is daytime now. I don't want that, so I just go back and just do that. So now it's not appearing over there. So actually, what you see here on the animation is not just not a video yet. It's just it's the content itself. So when I just do this, and I go back to the previous step, I can see it will be an 8-second animation. I can click here and I can change the length if I want.
Oh, so you can make it longer or shorter, and based on that it will be sped up?
Yes, and I can also select a different frame rate if I like to, and then when I click here, ARCHLine actually automatically creates the animation. It will be in the same folder as your images, and this folder icon will help you finding that.
So now it's saving the...
It's actually just recording the video now. It's recording the content. And then when it's finished, the video is done, and then you can just upload it or send it to your client.
What kind of file format are we talking about?
This is a classic AVI video file, which contains the content as it appears in front of you. So all the colors, all the lights, daytime, nighttime. So whichever is in front of you will be recorded. It's really like you go around with a handycam and you just record the content. This happens a little bit slower because it's just making the images and creating the video file. So when you click here, the software will actually show that. But if this little bubble, we call that, disappears, you don't have to worry. You can always use this one to click on that and it will find the same folder. So this is the interior design animation that I've just created. So it's recorded, and then now we can just go through and play it and then just send it to the client.
Neat. So I think the idea here is that you set up the project in ARCHLine, and then you fine-tune it in Live. Live is there to experiment, right? So you can try how certain textures, materials, and surfaces would look like. And you can change the surfaces. You don't have to, but you can change it. And if you're not satisfied with the things that you see, you can use the built-in library.
Yeah, and it's extremely fast, as you can see that it happens just in a second.
Especially interesting that is because the built-in library has many elements which will be otherwise very long and tedious to render because they have many surfaces. But Live doesn't care about that. It just features them. And look at the details in the background. It gives a lot of credibility to your scene.
Yeah, and it's blown by the wind. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it's actually moving a little bit. So yeah,
it's all about movement and communicating better with your clients. So that's basically what we wanted to discuss during this discussion of using ARCHLine.XP Live for an interior design project. Now, what's going to happen next time? Now, for the next 2 shows, we have similar topics lined up. Next week, we'll talk about how to create schedules and lists from ARCHLine.XP. And the week after, we talk about how to use ARCHLine.XP Live for an architectural project.
Yeah, and we will come with a new feature as well. So if you already saw our previous presentation, you should come back to see something new.
That's right. And don't forget that ARCHLine.XP Live is available for download and trial. So if you want to take it for a test drive, then don't hesitate and go online to our website and download it.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting you. You can try the trial version. That's just a button, as you could see when it starts. You can just push trial. Or you can also go with the education or non-profit version, which is for registration. You can use it for an extended grace period.
That's right. So until next time, thank you for your attention. Hope you are going to enjoy tremendously working in Live because I really do. So I hope you like what you see here. See you next week. Until then, happy designing. Thanks for your attention. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.